everybody. I'm Sue O'Connell. Welcome to another edition of Lunch Hour Live. Man, oh man, the 25th season of Antiques Roadshow is going to be like no other. Now, as you are well aware, before the pandemic, the show was holding events and discovering treasures all across America. But just as the pandemic has changed your plans and my plans, Roadshow had to change too. So, what do they do when traveling across the country and being surrounded by thousands of people in a convention center is off the table? Well, they visited celebrities looking to learn more about their family collectibles and flea market finds. Antiques Roadshow Celebrity Edition. It's going to give fans a peek inside the personal collections of your favorite celebrities in 4 one-hour special episodes that air this month on PBS. We're going to talk to Antiques Roadshow executive producer Marsha Bemko and one of the stars of the series. But first, let's take a look at who you can expect to see on next week's episode of Antiques Roadshow Celebrity Edition.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow Celebrity Edition, everyone's in for a surprise.
Who knew? Because honestly, they've been living in my closet.
What wasn't I thinking? I don't know. Why wasn't I thinking?
I feel like a real dope.
Tune in to this special episode next time on Antiques Roadshow Celebrity Edition, Hour 2.
Joining me today on Lunch Hour Live are Antiques Roadshow executive producer Marsha Bemko and our secret celebrity guest, Mark Brown, the creator and author of the beloved children's books and TV series, Arthur. Marsha and Mark, thank you so much. Welcome to Lunch Hour Live. Great to see you and great to meet you.
Great to be here.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Marsha, we have had so many great conversations about Antiques Roadshow and putting the show together. We talked, I think the first time we talked, we were anticipating this season before the pandemic and how exciting it would be. We didn't know it was going to be this kind of exciting. Bringing two of these great GBH powerhouses together, Antiques Roadshow and Arthur. My revere keeps popping up with Arthur. Marsha, can you talk to me about how you landed on this idea of Celebrity Edition as you realized that it was going to have to be a season like no other?
Well, Roadshow, we're addicted to touring, and we're a family of our unit's like a family of people who've been together a long time. So we were coming up with what we do, and still ultimately we're teaching history with material culture. And when we work and we do a typical tour, and we are on top of each other like bear cubs. There's no being apart. And even when we meet the guests who come with their antiques, we whisper to each other really, really close. So that wasn't going to happen. So we thought, what could we do? And we wanted to be really nosy. What could we do? And talk, still do what does Antiques Roadshow do? Teach with material culture. And do it with interesting people, because people will want to learn not just about what they own, but who the owners are. And that's the little difference here. We get to learn. You'll see and Mark will see too, because he hasn't seen his whole clip yet either, his whole segment, that we get to learn about Mark and also the Arthur drawings. And also he has other passions, which he'll tell you about, but that's a very exciting and engaging format. So although we'll go back to touring when it's safe, soon, I love doing these shows. I think they came out great, and it's a whole nother kind of roadshow. And I'm guessing Mark had a ton of fun, I hope.
Yeah, Mark, I want to ask you, did you ever think you'd be on Antiques Roadshow?
No, and it's one of my favorite shows. So it was, as my youngest son said, Dad, your dream has come true. But I'm, semi-addicted to the show. I need a support group, actually. So if you know of one, it would be really helpful. I really
don't help him. Keep him addicted. Don't anybody help him.
No, I grew up with my parents collected antiques. They had an antique shop for a while. And my dad in particular was really interested in antiques. And so I got to, live vicariously through his passion. And, it's an example really of adults and things that we're passionate about. And when we share them with kids, it can make a profound difference in their lives. My dad would take me to the Erie Public Library, and we would go right by the children's room, and we would go upstairs to where the antique architecture books were. And he would open them and share these, share his excitement about these houses, the details in the paneling, the fences, the doorways. And, it really got me interested in looking at antiques closely. And, I've now restored 8 antique houses. And what I love about antiques is imagining the stories that they could tell, because these things have been around much longer than we have. And, they have seen and experienced so much that they can't tell us. So having a vivid imagination, I love to think about what kind of stories they could tell us.
Marsh, we're going to take a look at the episode that Mark's in just a second, but I want to also just check in with you, because I know what a great creative force that you are and what a great team that you have. And I just want to get a little bit into the nitty gritty of it. At what point did you say, all right, we have to totally change how we're approaching the 25th season, right? Can you just bring us into your thought process and your team's process on what your reaction was when things started shutting down, and how you had to decide what you were going to do moving forward?
Well,
you're talking to me or to Mark?
Yeah, Marsha.
Yeah. If you we'd have to bleep it if you would have heard my real reactions. Oh, and I won't say it out loud. We'll keep lunch nice and clean. But however, what most people don't understand is that we're already planning next year's tour. A tour takes a very long time to build and coordinate and put into place. We're looking at something for this year too, of course, but that's how far out in advance we have to be. We make commitments, and we know what it takes for a tour. We use at every event 120 volunteers. Never mind all of us, or the 70, 75 appraisers who are there. It's a big TV production. And so as we're getting, I like many, right? Weren't you all told to go home for a couple of weeks? I've been home for over a year. So, but we all were told to go. My boss came in and said, John Berdar came in and he said, you're going to have to go home for a couple of weeks. I said, we're so busy, we can't do that. We've all learned to work from home. But just like everybody else, everybody hoped, we're addicted to the tour. We like to tour. And so we really hoped it would happen. Coming towards, the April, we knew we had to make a decision, because there came a point where we couldn't swing and pivot, but we could see it coming. So we came up with this idea of what you're seeing as Celebrity Edition. There's a lot of back and forth with the creative team, a lot of input with that. I'm not going to give any one person responsibility for the idea. We came up with it, and John Berdar liked it, as you know now. He's my boss, and importantly, so did PBS, because they ultimately will, what we're doing there, what we imagine to do. And so everybody loved the idea. Whoa! So then we started researching even before we made the plans, like who's good to talk to and who would let us in. And we did 2 sets of lists. People we knew we could drive to, and people we knew we had to get on an airplane to see. And this season, you will not see anyone who was on the list that we had to fly to, because we did have to cancel those shoots. So COVID ruled our lives. Mark will tell you that everyone was masked up until the time the cameras rolled. And if you weren't on camera, you stayed masked. We tested it every shoot. We kept it safe. I just have to boast this. This isn't what you asked. But it was a lot of hard work for my team, for our producers to coordinate all that. We did have a shoot that was canceled. I won't say his name, a big celeb there was a positive testing in that environment. We had to cancel it. But we kept everyone safe. Mark, you stayed healthy after we left? Good.
I did.
Good. So we managed to, what was all that like? It was this big lump of grayness while we made the decision. And finally, we said to each other, we're not going to be able to tour and keep everyone safe. Antiques Roadshow staff, this is our 25th season here. Most of us have been working together for over 20 years. I do have children and grandchildren, but these are my family. This is my family. We couldn't let anybody get sick. And nobody did. And we made great shows. So
let's take a look at one of those great shows. Especially, we can't say it without saying it. It was a wonderful kind of day when Roadshow visited Mark Brown at his home on Martha's Vineyard. Mark learned that some of his early sketches of Arthur were worth a little something, and that he should probably stop throwing them away. Let's take a look.
I have the best job in the world. Kids are my boss.
It may be the best job, but there is a downside to a lifetime of illustrating.
What do I do with all this artwork? I don't know where to store it any longer. Where does this all go? There's a lot of art here, and I'm really interested to talk with Colleen about what its value is and what I can do with it.
Roadshow appraiser Colleen Fesco sits down with Mark for a cold drink and to offer her opinion on the value of his artwork.
So where did you meet Arthur?
I met him in 3rd grade when I was in 3rd grade. I am Arthur.
No, I won't believe that.
And everyone in my family and my life in 3rd grade became characters in these stories and books. I used to get in trouble in 3rd grade, 4th grade for daydreaming and doodling, and now it's my life. So take that, Miss Mansfield.
So let me get this straight. You've written over 130 books, and it will be 80 Arthur books. And in the studio, how many pieces do you think you have?
You know, I have never counted. Well over 1,000 for sure. More than thousands. How do I find a value? I know there'll be gradations of things and what they're worth, but what is a good starting point?
Well, the good pieces, which to you and I may be the most wonderful pieces because they show your process and the early creativity of the pieces, are generally smaller works that would be working examples of later pieces. They would be the drawings, they would be the graphite, they would be...
So I shouldn't throw those away.
Oh my gosh, no, and you should sign them.
Sometimes I do.
No.
Oh man, making my head explode thinking about your gosh, Mark. I want to remind folks at home watching on YouTube and Facebook that you can send us your questions. We'll try to answer them through the show. So Mark, most of the folks who are on Roadshow share family heirlooms or, something that they found at a yard sale. You shared items that you created. How does it feel knowing that there are people out there who would buy and collect your Arthur sketches from the early days? And have you stopped throwing them away, please?
I have. I've stopped throwing them away. And Colleen did the nicest thing after the show. She sent me a lot of information about how to care for the artwork and how to catalog it, what is important for collectors to know about the individual pieces, and how to give that information on the back. So I'm going to give myself a good block of time and get the appropriate materials that she assigned to me, and I'm going to do that and put them in order for future generations.
Yeah, it's an amazing thought. Arthur is so big and such a part of all of our lives, and your baby, you and your baby, but also to try and look at it. Your work and your creativity as a different avenue of having this emotional value to people, right? And trying to add that value and care for it in a way that's not about the money, but it's about sharing the love of Arthur. Is that the right way to think of it?
I think so, yes. one of the things I'm doing is looking for various collections around the country that might be interested in having some of this work. So, that's on my agenda to find a home for it. And there are a lot of great places in this country that are repositories for American illustration. So that's one of my assignments I've given myself.
Marcia, there's a lot of very fun celebrities in this series, and I'm sure there was a big, long list of people who you could have asked, and I'm sure after this airs, there'll be a longer list of people asking to be on with you. What did the people that you chose, the celebrities that you chose, have that made it a compelling story for Antiques Roadshow?
I will be honest. It's the same no matter who it is. It's about the stories that go with the objects that make things interesting. Sometimes it is the inherent quality of an object, but what motivates somebody to buy something? That's what makes it interesting. And here's the thing, and Mark will tell you this, and everyone we met, people are people. And they're curious about what they own. Mark asked us, and we've helped him. What do I do with this stuff? How do I best handle this? He has a lot of work. What he described he has to do, I think you need to hire somebody. That's a lot of work. Anyway, that's an enormous. So for me, it was not so much about what they own, although we see some lovely things and we see some very ordinary kind of things. But like for Carla Hall, their family, she has purses her grandmother carried. They mean a lot. So it wasn't as much about what she had as her story, what she wanted to know. What I promised everybody when we pitched Let Us In was that Mark's curiosity will be our guide. We will try and answer his questions. We didn't go in with an agenda of show us this, show us that, show us that. Although afterwards we got him to let us see the drawings. But I mean, but we wanted to help Mark. We didn't want it to be a service. That's what we do at every roadshow. You bring us your two objects. Most of you don't have anything great enough to be taped, but we've told you something. And we wanted to make sure each of our owners really was curious. So it doesn't matter how famous you are, whether you have really nice things or ordinary things. People are people, and just like you and me, everyone we talked to wanted to understand what they owned. And that's great television. It's just great.
And Mark, you had more than, say this like it's just casual, you had more than your Arthur stuff, your drawings and everything. You're also, for folks who may not know, you're a collector. So you had items as well and art as well, and that you were looking for some more information and their stories about it too, right?
Yeah, my wife Lori and I started collecting portraits of children that were painted mostly in the early 19th century by itinerant artists that would travel around, mostly New England, and they would set up shop in a little inn, put an ad in the newspaper, and paint your portrait for maybe $3, $4, $5, depending on if you wanted the head and shoulders or from the waist up or the full figure. And so we started collecting these. The first portrait we bought was at Sotheby's auction house. And at that time, they used to have two levels. Upstairs was a place we couldn't afford. And the basement had things that were within our reach. And there was a little portrait of a girl holding her doll. And what Lori found so endearing about it was the way the little girl was fingering the ribbon on the doll's outfit. And, to me, a good portrait has a feeling of aboutness to it. It's not someone frozen. The sitter is about to move or say something, or it gives you a feeling that this is someone who's there, who's present. So we later found out that the painter of this portrait was Joseph Whiting Stock. And I love the stories about these people who paint these portraits. At 12 years old, he lived on a farm and a cart fell on his legs and he became paralyzed for life. And a doctor suggested that he take up painting to pass the time. And so he started painting these beautiful portraits. And, it's a snapshot into another time. In the area around the little girl sitting in her chair, there's a painted floor cloth. And that was something that people had in their homes back then. It was an inexpensive way to kind of mimic an Oriental rug. So there was pattern on the floor. So we really love, and we had Alan Katz who looked at a few of the portraits of children, and we learned more about them. That's one of the great things that Antiques Roadshow does for us. It's not, it's fun to hear how much it's worth, but it's that story and learning more about the piece that you are there, and you covet.
Yeah, one of the other celebrities that you have on, Marcia, who also I think was pleasantly surprised and moved by the value of some of her items was Olympic medalist figure skater Nancy Kerrigan. She has, of course, her bronze and silver Olympic medals. They're appraised on next week's episode, and they're worth now something that might be just as good as gold. Let's take a look at the clip.
Speaking of great pieces, we've got these.
This is from 1992 when I got the bronze medal in Albertville, France. And the middle, from what I understand, is Lalique Crystal, which is from France. And this is from 1994 in Lillehammer, Norway. It was just an amazing thing to be able to represent the U.S. at the Olympics. I feel very, very grateful.
Well, and I think America was very grateful to you as well. And obviously your story's incredible. And here's a tangible thing that kind of tells your story. Olympic medals are the apex of Olympic collectibles. To the person, the athletes who dedicate their entire lives to this sports, they mean everything and are totally priceless. But there are collectors who collect this stuff. The bronze, it's a very high profile medal because of the dress, because of you. It's beautiful. It really is. The Lalique is beautiful. Some medals are nicer looking than others. I would estimate that at auction, $30,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
I would insure it for $50,000. It's a very important medal. Your 94 medal, again, because of everything that happened and your triumph in getting there and doing it and everything about it, I would estimate it at $50,000 to $70,000, and I would insure it for at least $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah. All these things are really, they're powerful pieces, and I know that when people are watching this now, they're like, wow, I remember that, you know? And that's important.
It means something to me because I felt people behind me, people rooting for me from locally and my own team getting me there and helping me through a tough situation to my community as a figure skater, but the world, like sending me letters by the bucketful day after day. I just feel so thankful that I had that support. It helped me to do it.
Marcia, what a great story. That, of course, my era, that was on last week's episode. So cool to see these celebrities in their homes just hanging out like regular folks and being so vulnerable about, the value and inviting you into their homes as well. Was there anything that surprised you during these interviews or anything that you didn't expect that happen?
Well, that's a really good question. Anything we didn't expect to happen. I'm honest. I expected the folks to be delighted. I don't know that I expected our talent to be as comfortable as they were and to share generously with us. And so that was a really, really nice surprise. As far as objects, I'm used to doing Antiques Roadshow, so I've seen all kinds of crazy things. I think what's so interesting, though, is that Mark, when he talks about what he liked about is the secret sauce of Roadshow. Why do we like watching Roadshow? Because there's this object here that has witnessed what? What is that object's story? And we like to imagine where the object has been. And that's what's so engaging. The immediate thing of looking at something that's still here and that object's journey. And that, whether it's Mark who took it, Mark who acquired it and now knows that object's journey, is a really interesting thing. And we will have to admit, it's even more interesting when Mark Brown owns it than when I do. So, that is television. So we have this great chance to introduce people to what we talk about because they want to meet Mark Brown or any one of the other people we're featuring.
Marcia, I have a question for you. This new format that you've invented is so compelling because it talks to the voyeur in each of us. And I mean, it's so exciting to see where people live, where they work. I will be sad to see it go. I wish that there was a way that you could have a segment in each show moving forward where you visit someone. That's
a great question, Mark, because we actually have a Facebook and YouTube question from someone asking if you'll do more of these when life resumes. Do you think you'll do more celebrity series in the future?
I aspire to have a celebrity series shows and continue to do them. Antiques Roadshow, we have sponsors and viewers like you, and it will be about getting support for the programs. But I think that the reception that we're getting, those who were in the program enjoyed being in it. Those who watching it, like watching it. We loved making them. We learned how to make them as we went along and figured it out. And as long as we have the resources, we can do both. And that's my plan. I want to do both. Anybody? I want to do both. And extraordinarily talented team. Yeah, we'll have to hire more people if we do both, but that's the worst problem we should have. We can do that. And I think there's an appetite for both. It really is.
Mark, I want to ask you, was there something, watching the piece with Nancy Kerrigan was also so moving to me. I just think because, she's in our own backyard. I'm wondering, do you feel like you have a gold medal? Do you have something in your collection that's your Arthur gold medal?
Well, there's some Emmys behind me that are nice. But even more important to me is the Peabody Award, which is really prestigious from a television perspective. Arthur is now the longest running animated television show in history. I never in a million years could have imagined that happening. When we began this back in the mid-90s, I thought maybe 2 years if I was lucky. But I think what kids maybe find so compelling about the show is that the characters feel real to them. Arthur is just like any other 8-year-old kid. He doesn't have the answers for everything. He has trouble solving problems. And so it feels real to them. I got a letter from a little girl in Texas a few years ago asking for Francine's phone number. I knew I was doing something right.
That's so cute.
That's great. So, Marcia, where can folks watch this and catch up on this? I mean, I got to thank you. It was like medicine to me to watch it. Folks are going to enjoy it so much. Where can they watch?
You can always watch, and you're going to see the next one come Monday at 8, but you can watch episode 1, which is aired. You can see it on our website. You can stream it there. You can go to Facebook, YouTube, the PBS app. Where you watch your PBS, you can watch Antiques Roadshow. Where you watch television, you should be able to find us right there and watch the whole episode. And when we come up on the next 3 Mondays, you can do it the same way. We'll be streaming and on Facebook those Monday nights too.
Well, I thank you both. Marcia, great to see you. Mark, great to meet you. Thank you for all that you're bringing us during this tough time. It's a great joy to watch, and I hope to speak with you both soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be back next Thursday with Nova's Fighting for Fertility. It's a new documentary exploring the barriers that many people and families face when starting a family. I'm Sue O'Connell. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Lunch Hour Live.